I'm Gorlitz Scott, and I'm the Andee's featured artist for this month. Gosh, I've been an artist my whole life. I've been professional since 2012. I got started because I essentially was fired from my call center job for having a kid. You know, I have a set of skills that I got from, or, had all my life, but I went to college for art and graphic design and just never used that degree. And so this, I guess, was what finally kicked me over into doing it. The genre that I work in is fantasy. If I were to describe my style, I guess I would say it's like anime transitioning into a science fiction kind of realistic style. I medium hop like a fiend. I'll work in whatever strikes my fancy at the time. My current favorites are watercolor and digital, but all of everything that I do is oriented around telling a story in some facet. Dragonman Studios came about because I'm a nerd. There's something called tabletop gaming. Dungeons and Dragons falls into that. And so a lot of people sit around a table, roll dice, and tell a story oriented around, how the dice roll. Another setting was by a company called White Wolf. It was Vampire the Masquerade. And they had a live action role-playing game variant of their tabletop stuff. And in the guide for that, they referred to people who were outside of the game as mundane. I always had something dragon going on with my characters. There was either a part of the name or it was something we were wearing. So when I was out of character, they would refer to me as Dragon Mundane or Dragon Mun. So. I'm working on an illustrated version of my book. I'm working on the audio book of my book. That actually just won an award at the Melrose Center, or the Melrose Expo downtown. So. The story in a nutshell is about a teenage girl trying to escape an evil sorcerer and is thwarted by a secret rebellion going on. So I mentioned the tabletop role-playing games. We did a variant of that when I was really little, but Mortal Kombat 2 had just come out, and we decided that we wanted to take the tabletop role-playing game idea and make Mortal Kombat 3. We came up with new characters for it, we came up with new setting and backstory and all that stuff, because this was still prior to the Mortal Kombat movie and the TV series. Once the TV series hit, we kind of just stopped. Mortal Kombat 3 was obviously in production, but I didn't really want to let go of those characters, and I didn't really want to, lose what we'd come up with, so I sort of just kept it in sketchbooks and notebooks. I did eventually forget about them until my friend Sarah started going through. She would come over and she'd be bored and she just went through all my stuff. And eventually, because I had a really hard time explaining it all, pointing it out, going to the other books and stuff, I did a comic. And then after 10 years of doing the comic and coming out with one graphic novel, it was that thick, realizing that I work incredibly slow as a comic illustrator, I decided to switch the story over into a novel format, which still took me 3 years to write, but that was a lot faster, than, the decade of drawing the comics and only getting to what is the equivalent of chapter 14 in the book. So the Melrose Awards, an annual thing that they do for media that's created in the Melrose Center. I myself have been doing the narration portion of the audiobook in the Melrose Center because I don't have like a sound studio or anything at home. They provide this wonderful service for free. So after almost a year of recording this there, they're like, you should submit this. And I'm like, it's not even done yet. And then they were like, well, it doesn't matter. And so I sent it in after, producing it and getting it how I imagined that particular chapter would be. And it won. It won the audio category. I have a friend who also has her art in here, or did have her art in here. That was my first, awareness of the place. That there was a thrift store that supported local artists, and I was like, that's cool, I'll check them out eventually. Because I'm busy and I'm traveling all the time too, with the comic conventions and stuff. The fact that I have festivals and conventions and such as a alert almost, because I search for it so often. So the Andee's Expo event page popped up in my feed, and I was like, yes, I will totally check this out, and I will come to their store finally. Yay. And so I did that, and that was fantastic. I didn't know what to expect because we had food trucks and a parking lot. Just so many people came, and I did really well. Like the following week, I think I just dropped everything off. Stories in any form. I love looking at like images and trying to figure out the stories in them. I love reading books. I can pull stories out of music where they might not, even have stories. Or sometimes I pull stories out of music and it's like dead on exactly what they wanted. That story's been in my head for since I was a little kid, and I've been trying various ways to get it out of my head, with writing. That's a different art form, a different way than my brain is normally thinking. So it was really actually hard for me to get those words done. And when I got them, laid out in the book, I went through and I had to edit and edit and edit in order for it to make any kind of cohesive sense. And after a while, I got so frustrated, I ended up hiring an editor to help me. And she helped me polish it up. She helped me find my voice as a writer. And I rewrote quite a bit after that. And now we've got this complete story, that before all I would be able to do was, images, there's just like snapshots of the story. So I'm very proud of that. Never stop drawing. Literally, once you get started, don't stop. Because even if you make something that you're not proud of, it's, still practice and you're developing your skills and honing them. If you make a lot of stuff that you are proud of, bam, there's your inventory. So, never stop. This place is awesome.